Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Sunday Brunch. It is, what is it, June 4th, 2023. And we're going to talk about, do you realize how tough and strong you really are? And we're going to dive in the Stoics view about how we actually realize that what we have already versus what we want. So stay tuned here in just a moment and we'll get started. All right, it's Sunday brunch. That's right. So many of you are probably enjoying yourselves early morning, grabbing your cup of coffee, or maybe you're heading out to a restaurant, a Sunday drive, so on and so forth. So we're going to look at and evaluate the opportunities of how tough and how strong we already are. Doesn't mean that you're anything less, but it's a day of thinking about how do we realize our inner strength really carries us through. And there was a quote that I read for today. It says, "Why then are we offended? Why do we complain? This is where we're here for." And Seneca said this in Providence 5.7b through 8. Now, I thought that was a really brilliant quote. I thought it was a brilliant question to ask, and for many reasons, because as this year has really flown by, actually, the last couple of years has just gone so very fast. And sometimes we need a little bit of like, hey, put on the brakes, slow down for me. I'm not there yet. I'm not strong, but life keeps ticking, life keeps moving on. So how do we actually problem solve a lot of the biggest issues in our life? And it starts with our own inner strength and our own inner resolve. That's the first part. The second part is what are your tools? Do you use compromise? Do you use contrast? Do you know how to delegate your work? Do you know how to ask for help? Or are you afraid of looking weak? How many times have we really talked ourselves out of our own opportunities based on what? Our illusions, our thoughts, our positions. And maybe those things aren't necessarily true. I know I've talked myself on delay, putting things on the shelf, putting things in places that maybe they didn't belong. But there were a couple instances where as I train as a Stoic, I am a philosopher, I am a training Stoic. That means I have found a place to train my emotions, to train my feelings, to not let things get the best of me or sink my own ship, so to speak. It doesn't mean that I exactly have it down, but I read these old guys, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Zeno, and so many, and so on and so forth, and even current Stoics and philosophers like Ryan Holiday. And I train my mind and I train my body to when to turn the lights on, when to turn that perspective of like, hey, this matters to me. I choose not to let the situation get the best of me. And when I realize the strength that it takes and the time that it takes, it's like, oh my gosh. Matter of fact, even the other day, a friend of mine from Algeria was saying, they were complaining about they were in China and they showed like a clip of a snail crawling across the ground. They said, my life just feels like that. And my response to them was, your life is exactly where it needs to be at the pace that it needs to be so that you may learn and take advantage of your opportunities. Why did I say that? Because it is training. It is realization. It's self-reflecting. How much time do you spend self-reflecting? That's right. Self-reflecting is very, very important. And if we don't take that part of our lives, evaluate it, and sometimes contrast it, not necessarily compare it, because let's look at when you compare something, a lot of times in our thinking, it kind of kills our dreams. We will talk ourselves out of opportunity. That is a fact. And I've seen it time and time again. So how do you really look at things without putting yourself down? Look at the opportunity. It's not easy, doing this. It comes with a lot of weight. It comes with a lot of persistence. And what has your experience shown you before? So when we look at, how strong you really are, strength came from training and toughness. Let's look at how toughness really is and how toughness relates to the rest of the things about, what you're into. Toughness has come from a place where you sit and where you really look at what's possible through experience. You've done it before. For example, do you remember, like, I remember one of the toughest things I ever had to do as a little kid was swing a baseball bat at a moving baseball. Chance of me connecting bat to ball was not always easy. Sometimes the ball would come straight at me and hit me. Sometimes it would come at me and I'd move out of the way. Sometimes it would miss the plate, come over the plate. But however it is, the hand-eye coordination was really my earliest experience in remembering, you know what? Enough swings gives you strength. Enough swings will give you experience. Enough swings and connecting will give you, resilience. And why do I say that? It's because I believe that when you're resilient, whether you hit or miss, it is training, it's doing. And we cannot forget that. But the many obstacles that we run through in life, I strongly feel, they kind of tell us something about ourselves. And in our modern day world, how do we really view that? How do we take that not for granted? You know, like every time you approach something brand new that you've never done before, how do you treat it? Do you just automatically gawk at it? Say, "Oh, no, man, I'm too old, can't do it. I'm just not into it." Like, "Oh, I might hurt myself or I might stress myself." That says a lot about us. And it's happening more and more and more. And then how do we look at it, how we teach our children to approach our strife, our strength, and our struggle? And I constantly keep asking these questions because I look at what actually is taking place. That's right. What is taking place? A lot of things. A lot of things are taking place. My movement, my eyes, my ideas, um, my feelings. I just kind of feel like, it's interesting. And the reason why I say this is because when you start succeeding, say like you hit it on the money the first time, can you repeat it? Right? And that does come from strength. That does come from reflection too. It comes from realizing your own inner powers. And when you take time to do that, then guess what? You can do it again and do it again. And matter of fact, I was talking to the same friend or colleague, and I was basically saying, I said, if you put the amount of reps to where time was irrelevant, it's just you understand the power of relevance to what you're doing to contribute to your own mastery, not everyone else's mastery, but to yours. That says a lot about you. It tells me that it's like, yes, I'll permit my word to exist. I'm a guarantor. I'm somebody who's going to give you exactly what you need for where you need it, right? And that's tough. That's tough. That's really tough on all of us, you know? But then there comes a joy. And where does that joy come from? The experience and the discipline. See, practice is one thing. But the discipline, the formative discipline that you took the steps to do it exactly, just like, you know, hitting a baseball. I know that my accurate hits come from a certain space where I hold the baseball bat. I know that a certain level of grip and strength that goes into not only holding the bat, but holding it in a ready position for when I strike. And I've learned a lot about this metaphorically as I've been reading The Five Rings by Musashi. And he talks about the intent, he talks about how striking when true and only when necessary. But there are times where we swing and it was unnecessary. We assume too much. And then yet we come back, reel back our sword again or our bat to strike the object itself. Now, enough misses. You're going to learn something, whether you like it or not. Don't do it that way or don't do it at all. Or get better. The more strength and muscle I build in my arms and then also my eyes, my body position, my head, where am I at in the situation? Now imagine that. Imagine where you're exactly at. Imagine that when you are in the right place of your own life, right? When you imagine that you're in the right place, it's because you took the time to realize that many things took place before you got there. The want, the desire, the understanding, the knowing that when nothing takes place unless you apply yourself, right? Think about that. And when I think about the experience that it's taken for me to get where I'm at, maybe not be at the height pinnacle that I really desire. Where is it that I desire? Shh. I don't tell you my goals. Why? Because while I'm in training to realize how strong I am, to realize how much training it takes so that I am not thwarted just by some misses or lack of resilience and experience. It takes a long time. Like, for example, even reading books. This is a good one. I can't tell you how many colleagues and friends of mine do not take the time to read unless it's necessary, unless it's a text message, email on the screen, orders, um, some information of instructions. But what about challenging the mind, challenging life experience? That says a lot. And I read all these different books. I highlight, I look at my books constantly because to me, I've learned a long time ago, you can't read something valuable just once, and even something leisure. Like one of the books that made most a strong impression on me is The Alchemist by Pablo Coelho. I've read it 27 times. My book is highlighted, penciled. I mean, the pages definitely have some wear and tear. But as I realized the story of how implied and how I could see myself as an adventurer, and every step I made is one more strength and rep. And I could take the things, I could take like, oh, no, this just didn't happen for me. But there are a lot of things that we have to realize when not to be too bold or arrogant, to not let our egos, which is probably one of the biggest challenges for me personally, is my own ego. Matter of fact, my significant other even told me, babe, your ego kills a lot of the situation. And I kind of got one of those ultimatums, either shape it up or I'm shipping out. And I think it could have been taken cruel, but it also was taken in perspective. Anyone willing to put guardrails and boundaries on me? What are they trying to control? What did that reveal about her? She cares. Sure. She has other concerns. Sure. But what is the end game? What does she want? Well, that's where I don't want to say I put a stop to it, but I add a perspective. I'm gonna go at the pace that I'm going, and it is challenging and it is worth my while. I'm willing to upgrade myself. I'm willing to look at beyond what the pains, the suffering right now. And pain and suffering is a part of the experience. It is a part about being tough. Just like when a boxer gets hit in the ring, he's gonna get hit on the jaw more than just once. He's learning how to duck and weave. Keep your hands up. When you get in a fight, one of the things that they tell you in any sport of fighting, don't be square up. Always have an angle. How you look at things in an angle, pivot, you know? And when you look at the pivots, where you put your fists, your hands, your arms, your body, how you adjust to the situation. Do I need to move to my left or right? Bob and weave. When to strike, just like in the baseball explanation. When we look at these things and we adapt as they come, it comes because of experience and training and being easy on yourself. And like I said, comparison and competition can reveal a lot about you where maybe you need to do some more work or to show your best. But there is one alternative. It also kills you. It kills your ego, kills your spirit. It inflames doubt sometimes, inflames distrust in yourself and others. But that's the thing. I read something else by Marcus Aurelius in his Meditations, and he said some also very, very important things. And I quote, "Don't be ashamed to need help. Like a soldier storming a wall, have a mission to accomplish. And if you've been wounded, you need a comrade to pull you up. So what?" That's important because what that's basically saying, use your perceptual intelligence, your emotional intelligence to not just try to be the tough guy and just brute it out and get injured more or walk away in defeat. Take it as like an opportunity. We can get more done together. And that's why I tell people my constant life quote, nobody is self-made, but you do have self-interest. We are all community built. That's a fact. You cannot deny that. So when I look at today and I realize how strong I am and how tough I already am, not where I want to be, but where I'm at. And then I look at the things that I want to accomplish. What do I want to enjoy? And what will I allow to affect me? When I look at where I'm at, I have to ask myself questions. You know, sometimes I've asked a friend, and I've told a few friends this. When they're facing adversity and their mind or their space is like kind of trying to talk them out of doing the best for themselves. And it's very inconvenient where they're at because of feelings. They don't realize what's on the opposite side of feelings is opportunity. Feelings and pain are reminders of to do and what not to do at times. It's a safety feature. When we're in severe pain, we want to do everything we can to get out of being in pain. But when we take certain perseverance and we sacrifice and we suffer a little bit, it calluses us up and hardens us just enough to get past the first barriers or obstacles. And so, but I also would tell my friends, and excuse my language for saying this, I've told people saying, hey, either screw your feelings or screw your opportunities. I have talked myself so many times out of opportunities based on my feelings because I didn't understand. I could blame and say my parents didn't do certain things for me. I could blame that maybe I didn't have financial backing, support. One of the four major excuses why people do not fulfill their word, and fulfilling your word is probably one of the most powerful things that you do communally, that you contribute. Like I said, your community built. You contribute to your community by fulfilling your word. So that's why I tell people, watch what you say, including myself. I have been at many times not fulfilling in my word. I intended to be there, but it was more than I could chew, more than I could provide. And when you have to tell people, look, I just can't keep going this route. I can't keep doing this. It doesn't work for me. I'm sorry that I promised something more. And then there are people who will go on and promise things and then they will just abandon and walk away like, oh, I don't know what's going on. It takes a certain level of self-understanding, self-persistence. And so when the smart people, the hyper intelligent, successful business people, this is what they do. They look at the situation, they scale it up. Yes, there's definitely much stronger and smarter people than I am, but I have resources they don't. I'm going to exchange, I'm going to level up. And while their contributions make my endeavors go forward, I go forward. Ooh, that is a big one. Your mind will talk you out of everything if you let it because it grasps on staying safe, staying paralyzed. But when you realize how strong you really already are through the experiences you've been, whether it been painful or not, you did reps somewhere. You did time somewhere, somehow. Even the people that I've met that have been abused, gone through some serious situations, and they still put a smile on their face. I've met migrant workers, even looking at my own grandfather. And sometimes I would see him. I remember him in days. He'd be tired as hell, but his legacy, the loving man that he was and is, and how it was passed down to his sons and then me, sometimes better in my generation or the next. We are here to help each other out to some degree, but also pursue our endeavors, but understand there is a cost in exchange. That's the big deal. So when I look at the question, I'll reissue the question again before we close out. Do you realize how tough and strong you're capable of being? That's the Stoic question. Look at, write in journals, evaluate, and give yourself pats on the back. Understand, how can you look at the tough situation you're in now versus a tough situation you've already been through? And what did it take to get there? Let's see, I got a message over here on Breakout with list being bring to wait with I can't understand what you wrote because it's all jammed up words. I'm sorry. Good to see you, Sarah. Here, as a matter of fact, let's bring you up and see what you had to ask. Good morning, Sarah. How you doing?
Good morning, buenos nachos and tacos. I was trying to say with listening, with listening to your talks. Hell yes.
Yeah, it's my talks are to help get people moving. I think that's
Yeah,
it's
but
like,
if
go ahead.
oh
Go
no,
ahead.
I was just gonna say, well, first, hey Al, good morning, and secondly, like, what I mean by with your talks, yes, it's kind of because without when we had our talk when we have our talks and everything like that, it kind of is a motivational, it's like it's a motivator, and it
Mhm.
helps to understand like what's actually going on, like what's really like how I'm actually feeling, um like physically, mentally, emotionally, kind of in a way. Yeah. Maybe
And
emotionally I kind of I
and
step back on that one.
right. And that's interesting because it's like, imagine this is what I think about motivation. Motivation is like a match. You light it, but it's got to burn. And that burn, the fuel is inspiration, and motivation working together. It's the kindling, right? And then from that, what does it actually nurture off next? Your strong desire to complete and change the dynamics of what you're dealing with or whatever you have. So, Elle, welcome to the stage. So, as I come to a close and is there anything, I know, Elle, you've been in and out and I've seen you come in the room. Is there anything you'd like to say about what you've heard so far? Do you realize, the question is, do you realize how strong and tough you already are from where you're at? Oh, and good morning, Julie. How you doing? So,
Morning, Julie.
Hi guys.
Morning, Jason. Sorry.
yeah. So, just to give a refresher, Julie just came in the room. The question is, do you realize how strong and tough you already are? And it's a Stoic question. And then it's also, it catches on, do you realize how tough and strong you're capable of being? And that does, I basically talked about the experiences and where you've been to where you really want to be. Have you decided that destination to make it stand and be what it needs to be versus, nah, I don't know, man. I don't know if I can do it. So that is. So good morning to you, Julie. Good morning to Elle and Sarah. And thank you guys for being here. Any contributional thoughts that you have? Because I'm getting ready to end just in a couple minutes here. I'm sorry that I didn't list this talk. I should have, but I just what? I spent a lot of self-reflecting time this morning, and that's what I wanted to do today. Sunday Brunch, and I'm recording live on Breakout and YouTube. So if you listeners out there recorded and you want to find this, you can find this under 72 the Architect on YouTube, and it's Sunday Brunch. Do you realize how tough and strong you are? So, ladies, anything else you'd like to contribute? Or
I
any
just want to
thoughts?
say, I know I came in like really, really, really late,
It's
but
okay.
it's a really, really good topic, and I appreciate your question because it helps you it helps think, you know. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Anyone else? All right. All
Buenos
right.
nachos and tacos because it's nacho.
Julie, you were going to say something?
Oh, I just kind of wanted to say something a little bit cheeky, but
Go
I
right
think I
ahead.
realized, like, every time I had a child, how strong I was. Like, looking back now, I'm like, holy cow, how did I do that? And how am I doing this? Just as a mom, because it's a lot.
Oh,
It's
that's
a
a good
lot.
one. That's a good one. What is it like if you were to go and explain to young mothers or young couples? And I think that's where the biggest opportunities for development there. We just had National Women's Day the other day, so I think that's something important. Hold on one second. All right.
I
So
would tell.
sorry, I had a message. Anyways, motherhood, fatherhood, they're both valuable positions. And if we could advise the younger for the latter, where would it take people? Would it really make a strong effect on people making decisions, for their future? I think a lot of us have talked our own selves out of prosperity because our impulse, our feelings, and we're in a world where a lot of feelings are just they could be delusions versus reality. Doesn't mean you have to judge yourself. Just like, oh, well, hey, I really need to take time to decide about somebody, a life partner, and then have children. So anyhow, but yeah, I thank you for your share, Julie. So if you want to watch this or listen to this in the beginning, it'll end here in just a little bit, and it's live on YouTube. So go look up my YouTube and this, or if you want to listen to it, just record it on Breakout. It will be a published episode. So thank you so much for being here, everyone. I've got to get going. I actually got to take my mom to the airport this morning. And yeah, that's what I got to do today. So anyhow, thanks so much for being here. We'll see you next time on Sunday Brunch. And I've got new announcements coming up in the next couple of weeks. I've got a new show. I'm leaving Rise and Grind for a new topical show or new title, rebrand, a new adventure, and a next chapter of what I'm going to be doing with podcasting. Well, thanks you all. You'll have a wonderful Sunday. Enjoy your family. Enjoy your life. Take care.